So welcome everyone. Wyndham City is pleased to be bringing you this time and energy investment session by Kate Christie of Time Stylers, and very warm welcome to you, Kate. Of course, you're very familiar with our unit as being one of our key presenters at our Women in Business luncheon previously. As we begin, Wyndham City Council recognises Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first custodians of the land on which Australia was founded. Council acknowledges the peoples of the Kulin Nation as the traditional owners of the land on which Wyndham City is being built. Council pays respect to the wisdom and diversity of past and present elders. We pay respect and acknowledge Aboriginal people who are joining us today. Along with this session, Wyndham City has a range of free specialist business advice available, and they're all available on our website. I'm sure that those people listening to this presentation are well aware, but if you go to the business pages on Council's website, you'll see some of our great initiatives, but also you can email or make contact, and we love hearing from our businesses. It's now my great pleasure to hand over to Kate Christie of Time Stylers, who is a renowned time management expert, best-selling author and global keynote speaker. It is a pleasure to have her presenting to you today. You'll find Kate a wealth of knowledge on tips and skills to help you invest your time, especially as we adapt to new ways of working after COVID-19 restrictions. Thank you, Kate, and over to you.
Thanks so much, Leslie, and to Wyndham, thank you very much for inviting me to share my knowledge with your business community today. So I'm just going to share my screen. Just bear with me. There we go. Okay, so today's session is all around time investment tips for owners and operators. For those on the call, please feel free to type any questions you have into the chat room just as a record, and then I'll circle back towards the end or pause from time to time to involve you with any questions you may have. So Leslie's taken us through the acknowledgement of country. Here are the resources, some of the local resources that Leslie was mentioning. So in terms of myself and my background, I am the founder and CEO of Time Stylers. I'm a time management specialist, the best-selling author of 4 novels, a global speaker and coach and consultant. I've worked extensively with Council at Wyndham, also with other organisations across Australia and outside of Australia, including big and small business, government departments and entities. And I'm very, very passionate about sharing my knowledge when it comes to how to best invest your time. So the intention of today's session is really, today we're going to be covering off what the intention of the session is. I'll be giving you a quick overview of the webinar, the 3 key time challenges that we face as business owners, small business owners, and I am a small business owner. I'm going to share a lot of strategies with you today. I don't want you to write down, 60 different strategies, because that's just going to join the list of, 800 other things you are never, ever going to do this week. So just choose the 2 that really resonate with you, 2 that you think, why didn't I think of that one myself? Because they're the 2 that are going to be easiest for you to implement. And then once they become sticky, then you can choose another 2. So we're just starting with 2 today. We've got about 60 minutes. There will be time for Q&A, so please make sure you ask your questions.
Okay. Just a quick one. We can't see your presentation. We're basically seeing the the PowerPoint slide or whatever. So if you could just present it to us.
Okay, hang on. I'll just go back. Just bear with me.
Like we see the layout bar and all that sort of stuff in there.
Okay. Let me just go in. Thanks for letting me know. I'll just open it again. Can you see that now?
Yep, now we can, yes.
Okay, terrific. All right. Okay, wonderful. So the intention of the webinar is really, it's about Wyndham staying in touch with its local businesses. It's about you as local businesses staying in touch with your people and your customers and more importantly, your staff. It's also, we're going to talk about productivity at home, but also productivity in a business as usual version 2. Because when we come out of COVID, things are going to be very, very different. And now is the opportunity for you to identify what's been working really well for you, that you implemented because of COVID, and designing what the new future of your business looks like, taking into account that we are going to be working very, very differently. It's about time to reflect and align your staff to make sure that if you have a team, that they are all aligned so that everybody knows what they should be working on when they're working from home, and then they come back out into BAU version 2. Understanding it that, you know, there are very different household situations at the moment. So what might work for you really well productively may not work for a member of your team. So it's about getting that balance. And it's also just about supporting your people so that they understand that you're aware of their circumstances, and that we can all kind of work together to make sure that we're still working really, really productive in a really productive way with our business. I'm going to be covering off remote team management, so how to make sure that you continue to manage your team well when you are not co-work located. The communication tools that are available to you around creating a new team culture. What's going to be important in terms of maintaining culture whilst people are working from home, which we are continuing to do. What BAU we want to maintain while we're working at home. But as I said, also, once we come out of the other side of COVID, and once we start potentially working together again, and some of you as business owners may decide that this is the way for you going forward. So what does that BAU version 2 look like? How do we continue to engage, really motivate and connect with our team and our staff whilst we're working from home? Some of the ergonomic basics, and I've definitely been focusing on this myself in the last week or so. I've now got my standing desk and utilising that. How to drive a high performance team in a virtual environment, which is really critical. Things are very, very different at the moment. And obviously everything that I'm going to be talking about comes down to productivity. So that's an overview of what I'm going to be covering today. Let's start with the rules of engagement. And this is in terms of working from home. And this applies to your team, but also to your customers, your clients, your suppliers. You need to agree the basics. What hours of work are you as the business owner going to be working? What hours of work will your team be working? It may not be a strict or traditional 9 to 5 anymore. It may be that if they're working around different scenarios or different situations, maybe their kids may be home a little bit more often than they were because of school restrictions. There may be some flex that's required in terms of where people are going to be working. Agree the communication touch points. This is a big one that I'm seeing with a lot of my clients at the moment, that communication issues are challenging. Sometimes technology doesn't work, but other times we kind of confuse the communication scenario of having way too many options available to our teams. So let's agree what the basics are and what we're going to use. Agree turnaround times. This one's really important when it comes to interdependencies with your team. Agree that if someone puts an email out and it's not urgent, how quickly are we going to be responding to that email? If people are asking for advice or information from you, what is your response time going to be so that you're not potentially holding them up? How needy are your team? Is it time for them to actually start to sort of stand on their own 2 feet and make some decisions about things themselves? So it's about establishing the rules and clearly communicating that with your team. Set the right expectations up front. Now is probably a great time to reset priorities, to talk about, well, look, what are we doing right now that's working? What can we do differently? What are our key priorities? What do I need you to work on this week? What are the outcomes you're expecting? Now, it doesn't need to be focused on tasks. It's not necessarily a task sort of a period of time where you want to be just concentrating on understanding what the task is, completing that task, moving on to the next task. It's more about outcomes at the moment because you don't have that constant face-to-face interaction with your team. So maybe it's around what are the key milestones on this particular project? What are your KPIs? What do I need you to deliver on this? Are your customer expectations being met? Has the project milestone been completed on time, as opposed to sort of specific task focus? Know what each of your team members need. So this is very much one of horses for courses. Sometimes there will be some high performers in your team who are very, very talented, very self-sufficient, very self-sustaining, and they may not need as much of you. You may have some younger or junior team members or some team members who perhaps are a little less confident who do need more of you. So understand where and when you're not needed and make sure that you're making time for additional time for this teams or members or staff that really need you, and perhaps just having occasional check-ins on the more confident team members. If you have had a scenario where you were performance managing someone coming into COVID, you don't need to stop that process. It's really important that you continue to engage with that person, continue to manage their performance through this process in terms of outcomes and making sure that they're continuing to deliver. Other rules of engagement, there are going to be BAU issues or topics or processes or practices that you want to continue. So for example, you may be in the habit of having Friday night drinks with the team, and then COVID came along and that social cultural aspect has gone. It doesn't have to, so you can get together on a Zoom call and have Friday night drinks for half an hour on Zoom or MS Teams. If you traditionally have lunch or coffee with your team members, they have virtual coffees and lunches. So there will be BAU elements that you want to continue, but they'll just be adapted for the environment. Office ergonomics, really big one. Make sure that people have got the right tools of trade. Do they have the right chairs? Are the desks well positioned? Are they getting enough exercise? Are they getting up and away from their desks? One of the things I'm hearing a lot from in terms of my clients is this sort of online fatigue, the fatigue of constant Zoom or MS Teams meetings, constantly being in front of our computers. People are getting a lot of back and neck problems. So it's around establishing those rules of engagement and making sure that people know that they're not expected to be sitting at their computer the whole day. They have to get up, they have to move around, they have to stretch their backs. So this one is very much about communication. What are your rules of engagement? Make sure that you understand what they are and then share them with your team. It's about changing your mindset as well. So, with COVID and everything that's happening post-COVID, and now the schools are opening up and our travel's starting to open up, and at some point in time we will be allowed to go back to the office. It's time to change your mindset around productivity and around the way you've approached work. So one of the things I would encourage you to do is move away from a time management kind of mindset and embrace a time investment mindset. So we can't manage time. We all have exactly the same number of hours every day, and no matter how wealthy or stealthy we are, we can't acquire, steal, buy more. So you need to start thinking about your time the way you think about your money, as an enormously precious resource that needs to be invested for the greatest possible return. So from now on, this may be one of the two strategies or two ideas you pick out of today. Time is not there to be managed, time is there to be invested. Equally, let's change our mindset away from being busy. Everyone's busy. We're part of the busy club. How are you? I'm busy. I'm busy too. One thing that COVID's really done is it's allowed people to kind of slow down and go back to basics. And I would challenge you not to adopt a busy lifestyle again as we come out of COVID. Start being productive instead. When people ask you how you are, say, I'm great, I'm terrific. Don't talk and be busy. Identify everything that you were doing prior to COVID, the 800 school activities that your kids were doing, the 4,000 after school activities that they were doing, all of the committees that you belong to and everything you do. write them all down and then work out which ones you really, really want to be on going forward out of COVID. Talk to your kids. Which activities do you really, really want to do? And the rest is up for grabs. Don't be busy. Be productive. Be flexible as well. I think one of the things that COVID's shown us is that workplace flexibility is very much here to stay, but it works. You know, Adam and I were talking prior to this around the research showing that a lot of people now want to continue working from home at least part of the time. Many organisations have now mandated that that's an option. Twitter has said that their staff can just work from home full time. A lot of you may be considering not having, bricks and mortar anymore as part of your business. So be flexible. Think about it. It's a new way of working, but it's also about being productive. So don't embrace flexibility for flexibility's sake. It's really around, how do I work in a way where I can absolutely maximize my productivity? Staying connected and keeping your staff really motivated. There's some real basics here that you probably just, it's communication 101. Make sure you have regular touch points with your team as a team, but also as individuals within the team. Do that weekly as required. You want to be touching in, catching up with people, say, how's it going? What are you working on? What outcomes are you working towards? Are you missing milestones? Is there anything I can do to help you? If you have large teams and it's sort of hard for you to sort of be the touch point person for everyone all of the time, then I'd encourage you to set up a bit of a buddy system where you buddy up a more mature staff member with someone who's perhaps newer or younger, to them to check in on each other, just to say, how's it going? What are you working on? What's working? What's not working? Stay in touch with your friends and colleagues. You know, now is the time to connect more than ever. Also stay in touch with your customers. Now is the time for you to be saying to them, how can we help you? What can we do differently? What are your problems that we can solve for? You will find that you can potentially pick up more clients or do more business with current clients just by understanding how their needs have changed because of COVID and thinking about, well, how do I plug those gaps? What can our business offer that's going to make it life easier for our customers and clients because of COVID? Comment is a really big one, and I mentioned that before. You know, one of the things my clients are seeing is that sometimes, or in some organisations, their people are being absolutely overwhelmed by options. I was with a client, when I say with, online, a client in Adelaide last week, and they have a team of about 60 in their organisation, and they had emails, telephone, text messages, Zoom meetings, MS Team meetings, WhatsApp, and Slack. Now, that was just 7. I think there were more, but 7 different forms of communicating with their team. It's crazy. Things were falling through the cracks. The other thing that you find is that it takes 15, 20 minutes just to go through each of those platforms just to see what all your messages are. So keep it simple. If possible, have 1 or 2 verbal or technical kind of communication points, whether it's email and phone and text in there. Have 1 video platform, not multiple video platforms. Agree what your program management system's going to be. Maybe you go with Trello or you go with Asana, but you have to decide exactly what tools you're going to use and then just stick to those, communicate those, and keep it to a minimum. So let's switch gears now, and I want to talk about the 3 key time challenges that you are facing as a business owner. I've worked with thousands and thousands of business owners globally, and whilst there may be a whole heap of pain points, too many emails and back-to-back meetings, and I'm constantly interrupted. I've got too much on my plate. I'm juggling so much. I'm being pulled in all these different directions. They're just your symptoms. When you boil it down, there are 3 core parts of the diagnosis, or 3 key problems. Number 1, you are not planning to succeed. Unless you have a written 5-year plan which is broken down into annual goals, which are broken down into monthly, then weekly to-dos, and you're working against that and you're maintaining it and keeping at it and you're regularly revisiting it, then you are not planning to succeed. You have to start planning. The second one is that you're not controlling the agenda. So regardless of where you are in the hierarchy, and if most of you will be the business owner, you will have a degree of control over your day. You need to exercise that full control. You can control what meetings you go to. You can control which clients you're going to be speaking with. You can control which tasks you're going to be working on, whether it's high value revenue generating tasks or low value administrative sort of tasks. Understand what you have control over and exercise full control over it. The third pain point is that you are not focusing on the right tasks at the right time. Now, we're going to solve for all of these right now. I'm going to give you a range of strategies for each of these pain points. Now, again, I just want you to grab a couple of them and implement the two that resonate most strongly with you. Some of them won't resonate at all. Good, just leave those alone. Just go after the ones that you know will make an impact for you. And by implementing them and making them habits that are sticky, I can guarantee you will start getting time back into your time budget. The prize is that up to 40% of your time is recoverable once you start implementing these smart time investment strategies. So like that's literally almost half a day or half a day extra every day. I know I said that wrong, but you know what I mean, okay? There's a lot of time up for grabs. So strategies around plan to succeed. Firstly, you want to have a really awesome smart to-do list. So a smart to-do list is one which lists absolutely everything that you need to do for the next week. You then, from that, identify the two most important things you want to do tomorrow. You lock those into your calendar as a deadline. Now, I just want to pause there and talk about the to-do list. Firstly, it can contain 800 things. I don't care how many things are on your to-do list. The important thing is you're just going to pick the two most important for the next day. Don't worry about the other 1,000 things that are on there. Just the two most important for the next day. You're then going to estimate how long you think each of those are going to take so that you have a plan to set yourself up for success. If the two most important things are going to take 10 hours each, you're not going to get them both done the next day. The third thing that you're going to do is that each night you're going to revisit that master to-do list and you're going to update it. Some things will have dropped off. Some things will have gotten done miraculously. Other new priorities will have come into your day. So you want to update that list every night and then pick the two most important things for the next day. Now, you get into an operating rhythm with this. And by the end of the week, it being a great week where everything's gone well, you've done your 10 most important things for the week. Now, the reason why you lock them in as a deadline into your calendar is because our brain loves a deadline. There's an economic theory called Parkinson's law. And it basically says that a task will expand to fill the time made available for it, right? We know this. If you've got a month to write the report, it's going to take you a month to write the report. If you've got 4 months to write the report, it's going to take you 4 months to write the report. If you don't put a deadline, the report will not get written. So you have to lock deadlines in. Now, some deadlines will be imposed externally by clients or, if you're not the boss in the business, by your boss. They're the easy deadlines to meet because there is a consequence associated with missing the deadline. But for the rest of the tasks that don't have an external deadline, it's up to you to lock that deadline in and then work towards it. And that's where your to-do list and your calendar are like a really powerful duo of time investment tools. You want to use them together. There are two different types of tasks that we perform. So when it comes to allocating those two things from your to-do list, be aware of this. There are high-value tasks and there are low-value tasks. And regardless of your business or the nature of your role, we all have our own high-value tasks and our own low-value tasks. A high-value task is a task which is at your skill level and which is core to your role. Now, in business, it also will be revenue generating or cost reducing. So at your skill level, core to your role, revenue generating or cost reducing. So typical high value tasks will be winning a new customer, delivering to an existing customer, developing strategy for your new product launch, developing a new product, all high value tasks. A low value task is a task which is below your skill level or which is cost generating. Typical low value tasks will be administration, doing rework on anything where you've started something, you've spent an hour on it, you put it away for 2 weeks, and you come back and you have to spend 4 hours on it, remembering what the hour's work was that you've already done. Low value. Social media, if it's not associated with, promoting your business or a product, where you just get onto the phone and you just get sucked down that rabbit hole, and there's another shiny object and there's another shiny object, and an hour and a half later, where's my time gone? Very low value tasks. So you need to understand and sit down, and this is a piece of homework for you. Sit down and articulate exactly what your high value tasks are and what your low value tasks are. And it's the high value tasks that you want to prioritize when it comes to picking the 2 most important things from your to-do list. Now, the other thing, this is ergonomics in action. I'm just going to adjust my desk down and sit down for a few minutes. Okay, so the other thing you want to look at when it comes to identifying the types of tasks you should be performing out of your to-do list is the costs. You need to count the costs of how you're spending your time. There are 4 different cost lenses when it comes to working out where you're spending your time, or every time. Another way of putting it is every time you spend time on a particular activity, you will incur 4 different costs. The first is financial cost. Your time is money. Now, the best way to work out what your financial hourly rate is if you are in a business that charges by the hour. So, for example, if you're an accountant or a lawyer and you charge your time out by the hour, then that is your hourly rate for the purposes of every single task. If you don't, then there's a fantastic app called the Harvard Meeting Calculator. Jump into that and it'll talk you through a very quick process for you to calculate what your hourly rate is. Once you understand your hourly rate, you should be applying that to everything. Now, for example, if your hourly rate is $50 an hour and you spend an hour a day every single day of the year on social media, that's $18,250 of your time a year. So is this really the best use of my time? The second cost lens is opportunity cost. So it's the cost of your trade-off. Every time you choose to perform an activity, there's going to be something else you could have done. So if you're choosing to spend that hour on admin, that's an hour you could have spent winning a new client, developing a new product, honing your marketing, ringing up a customer. So that's your opportunity cost. Emotional cost is the third cost lens. So this is where we feel good or bad about how we've spent our time. This one will play out in your house on a Sunday morning when you're yelling at the kids to help you clean the house because you're a mum or a dad, not a slave. Emotional cost. And physical cost is anything that you do that makes for pain. So sitting at your computer all day or standing at your computer all day and not having a break and your back starts to hurt, that's your physical cost. So your job as a business owner, as an operator, and listening to this webinar is to think about which of those 4 cost lenses resonates most powerfully with you. And that's the lens you need to look through from now on so that you know whether or not the activity you've chosen to perform is the best use of your time. The second pain point was that you don't control the agenda. So here's a couple of strategies around how to regain control of your agenda. The first one is to identify exactly what you can control. Work out what is in your remit. If you can control what time you get up, what you eat, what you wear, then make it simple for yourself and make really simple decisions around those sorts of things. What can I control and control it? The second one is leverage Parkinson's law. So now that we know that our brain works best responding to deadlines, lock in a deadline for everything. That will absolutely help you control the agenda. And if it's a repetitive task or something that you have to do a lot of, then tighten the screws on that. If it's a task that you do 4 times a week and it typically takes you half an hour, then set yourself a deadline of 25 minutes and see whether you can produce the same output in a slightly shortened period of time, because that's going to gain you back time in the week. Understand the pain of interruptions, okay? Because interruptions will be costing you big time. As professionals, we're interrupted sort of once every 8 minutes. And each time we're interrupted, it takes up to 23 minutes for you to return to the task that you were interrupted from. So, you know, you can do the maths on this. We don't get a lot of work done once we take into account all of the interruptions we're receiving. In fact, when you add up interruptions, meetings and emails, and you factor them out of the picture, we're getting about 6.5 hours of productive work done a week as a full-time worker. So interruptions are costing you big time. Start rejecting interruptions. Maybe reject 2 out of every 3 interruptions. Have a period of time where you don't allow interruptions from your team at all and communicate that to your team. Be aware of when you're interrupting your team, because it's going to be costing them. Now, there will be some interruptions you have to allow, you know, the house is on fire or whatever. When the really urgent interruptions occur, the best way to deal with it is to take a quick note of exactly where you are up to at the point of the interruption, and that's going to make it faster and easier for you to get back on track and return to the task at hand once the interruption's been dealt with. With interruptions, always be aware of the cost lenses. Okay, we just talked about financial, opportunity, emotional, and physical cost. Have them at the forefront of your mind. Is the thing that someone's interrupting you with more important than the task you're working on? If it is, that's okay. If it's not, then it's just cost you from a financial, opportunity, and often an emotional perspective. Set boundaries. So with your team, agree some boundaries. When can I be interrupted? You know, this is a period of time when I'm just working on something. We're not going to interrupt each other. So have those boundaries set for yourself and communicate them with your team. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Now, I'm going to play a game. I'm not sure how this is going to go. Adam, are you able to take everybody off mute from your end? That could be a no. All right. Adam or Leslie, is everyone coming off mute?
Yeah,
I'm off mute. I've just got Valerie still on mute, but I think the rest of us, yeah.
As long as
I'm off mute.
Okay, great. All right, we are going to play a game. And some of you have already played this with me because you've heard me speak before, but it is my favourite, so I have to do it. Okay, when I say go, I want everybody on the call to count out loud from number 1 through to number 26, saying every single number as fast as you can. Ready, set, go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26.
Okay, brilliant. Excellent. All right, this time round, I want you, when I say go, I want you as fast as you can to do the full alphabet. Go.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
Okay, excellent. All right, great. Round 3, this time when I say go, I want you to do 1A, 2B, 3C, all the way through to 26Z. Ready, set, go.
1A, 2B, 3C, D, E, 4F, 6F, 5G.
All right, okay, stop. I'll put you out of your misery. We cannot multitask. Okay, when you just had to do numbers, you killed it. When you just had to do letters, you were amazing. When you are forcing your brain to quickly switch tasks and to jump from one type of task into a completely different type of task, back to an original task, into the task, your brain literally started melting out of your ears. You know, we get to kind of like 4D, I think it is, A, B, C, D, yeah, 4D, and you hear people sort of starting to really nervously giggle. It's like, oh my God, am I the only one who doesn't know how to do this? No, you are not. there are only 2.5% of the human race can actually effectively multitask, and they're so rare they're called super taskers. For the rest of us mere mortals, the only solution to this one, and this is for your hard strategic types of work, the only solution is to single focus. When we multitask, our productivity goes down by up to 40%, which is the equivalent of losing 10 IQ points. Now, examples of multitasking can be sitting at your computer and your emails are flashing in the right-hand corner, or dinging or pinging, or having your phone near you and you know periodically picking it up and just checking it, having your phone with you in a meeting and it's vibrating, having two screens open, having multiple reports open on one screen and toggling between them. Every time someone interrupts you and says, "Can I have 5 minutes of your time?" All of those are examples of multitasking. So if you are operating in a state of constant multitask every single day, then at best you are only working to 60% of your productive capacity, which is not good enough. So it's about understanding that we can't multitask. Now, that's for the sort of the strategic hard stuff. If, you know, on the home front or the easy stuff, if you can cook the spaghetti bolognese while you're yelling at the kids and you're vacuuming the floor and you're kicking the dog and feeding the cat, knock yourself out, because that doesn't require your best brain. But for your high value tasks, the ones that we are wanting to prioritize, we can only do one of them at a time. The last point was around the fact that you're not focusing on the right tasks at the right time. Now, this one is really easy to solve for. This is around making sure that you understand when you are at your best. So remember, we've got our two most important tasks from our to-do list. They're high-value tasks. We know they're way more important than low-value tasks. We want to lock them into our calendar as a deadline. The best time to lock them in is to lock them in when you know you will be at your absolute best. So your high energy, your high powerful, kind of creative, enthusiastic, awesome time of the day. Now, if you're a morning person, you want to batch those key strategic high-value tasks into your morning. If you're an afternoon person, then batch them into your afternoon. Also, you want to understand when you are at your worst or your lowest energy ebb during the day. And that's where you want to batch in your process-driven or your low-value tasks. The things that you can do with your eyes closed, administration, invoicing, perhaps some of your one-on-one meetings, perhaps some of your easier tasks, batch them in for a period of the day when you know you're going to be sluggish. Batching is the concept of grouping like tasks together and dealing with them as in a chunk, so that there's less, warm-up time and less warm-down time between tasks, because you're doing them as a chunk. So if the nature of your business has lots of invoicing, then you want to batch chunks of time during the week to do all your invoicing in one hit. Batch customer calls, batch compliance, batch regulatory stuff, batch your tax stuff, batch your banking, batch your customer interactions if you can. Batching is gold, and it is absolutely going to help save you a heap of time. It's going to help you control the agenda. And it also means you're planning for success because you're locking this into your calendar. Batch emails, and in between emails, turn them off because they are a distraction. And by having them on the whole time, you are multitasking. And absolutely batch your device usage, okay? If you are the sort of person who checks your phone within 10, 20 minutes of waking up, and if you're not a first responder, then you need to actually take a little bit more control of your device. I'm going to talk about batching and show you how I don't want you to touch your devices until after you've done at least your most important task for the day, if you're a morning person. So this is an example of a batched calendar. Monday and Tuesday are exactly the same. Thursday is a little bit different because there's an all-of-team meeting. Now, depending on the nature of your business, this may or may not work for you. If you are in a shop or in a restaurant, then batching your calendar this way isn't going to work for you. Batching will still work, just not as regimented as this. If you're in a business which is more sort of office-based or service-oriented, then this may work well for you. This person's a morning person, so they've batched out a period of time for a morning routine. They've then gone into their first key strategic task of the day, which is one of their high value tasks. And they've done that even before they check their phone or their devices. Because the minute you check your emails or you check your calls, you have lost control of the agenda, because that's working to someone else's to-do list, right? Everything on your phone, everything in your emails is someone else's to-do list. It's not your to-do list. So you want to stay away from your phone or your emails really for as long as you possibly can. Now, if your business is very email driven and highly email driven, then you want to batch a number of periods of time during the day, maybe 4 periods of time where you're available and you're dealing with emails. You want to regularly have breaks during the day. As little as a 10-15 minute break will absolutely increase your productivity. Your day is a series of short sprints. It is not a marathon. So you want to work in bursts or batches of time and then take breaks. The other thing you'll see from this calendar is that the person, because they're a morning person, in the afternoons, they're tired, they're sluggish. This is, their body's just starting, their brain's given up big time. So they've batched in a big block of time where they're just going to work on their easy, process-driven, administrative type tasks, the tasks that don't require their best brain. Now, when it comes to emailing, and I wanted to share this strategy with you because it's proven to be really, really popular with a lot of my clients lately. So if your business is highly email driven, then a great way to kind of get control of your inbox, if your inbox has its own heartbeat, then this is a great way to deal with your emails. It's called the 4 Ds. Basically, what you want to do is have 4 subfolders next to your inbox. Then if you have and looking at the calendar here, at 10:45, I've given this person 45 minutes to check their emails and respond to their calls. For the first, say, 5 minutes or so, all they're going to do is triage their inbox. So they're going to look at all of the emails in their inbox and they're going to triage it into one of the 4 Ds. The first D is deal with it. That's where there's a task or an email that you can respond to in 5 minutes or less, or where the email is really urgent. You're going to drag and drop it into the deal with it. If the email can be dealt with by somebody else in your team, you're going to drag and drop it into the delegate it folder. If the email is going to take more than 5 minutes to respond to, or it's not urgent, then you're going to drag and drop it into the defer it folder. The delete it folder is kind of everything that's a BCC or a CC or industry news you're no longer interested in, or subscriptions you haven't looked at for 85,000 years. Drag and drop them into the delete it folder. If you can be bothered, unsubscribe first so that you stop getting those ones in the first place. So you've spent sort of 5 minutes triaging your emails. You're then going to go straight into the deal with it folder. So this is your 5-minute emails, or the ones that are really urgent. And then you're going to basically work through them, and you're working against the clock, okay? You've got another, say, 30, 35 minutes left in that email batch, and you want to bang out as many of these emails from the deal with it folder that you can. If you finish that and you've still got time up your sleeve, you're going to go straight into the delegate it folder, and you're going to delegate it to one of your team members. If you've still got time, then you can jump into your deal with it, but you probably have run out of time by that point. That's okay. Look, we've got another email batch coming up. So in the meantime, we're going to turn our emails off, get some other real work done. And when it comes up to another email batch of time, the first thing you're going to do is triage any new emails. You start at the top again and you progressively work down through your emails. When you get to the defer it emails, a great way to deal with them is to quickly respond to the person and letting them know you've received their email, telling them when you will come back to them by. Thanks so much for your email, Adam. I'll get back to you by close of business X. That means Adam's not going to chase me. I've locked in a deadline. I now have to come back to him, or else I've let him down. There are external consequences. So the 4 Ds of emailing is awesome for those of you in business that has you have a lot of email volume and email traffic. Strategy I want to share, and you're going to hate me for this one, but that's okay because it's a beautiful strategy, is I want you to think about mapping your time. So maybe once a month, just for a full day, I want you to map your time from the minute you get up to the minute you go to bed. And I want you just to take a notation of every single time you switch task and what you switch it to. I want you to take note of every interruption, who interrupted you. Now, by the time you get to the end of the day, you will see a full suite of everything you've done, and you're going to do this mapping real time. Don't try and create it at the end of the day because that's pointless. You want to know real time who's interrupting you, how often you lose concentration. Oh, there's a bird. Oh, there's a butterfly. You know, how often you switch tasks, how often you're checking your phone. That data will change your life. Do it once a month. Once you have that data, you can then categorize your time into 4 different categories: your musts, your wants, things that you can delegate or outsource, and your rejects. The musts are the things that you have to do that only you can do. So I have to get out of bed, I have to eat, I have to go to work and have my meeting with my boss because, or, you know, meeting with my best client because they're my best client. Your wants are the nice things that you're not going to see a lot of on your timesheet at the moment. So things you do for yourself: read a book, have a sleep in, go and have a massage, go for a jog or a run, date night, all the nice things that, you know, we don't often prioritize. The delegation and the reject buckets are where you're going to find all of your lost time. And when I work with my clients on this, I've got a reputation for helping them find a minimum of 30 hours of lost time a month. And this is where we find it, in the things that we can delegate and the things that we can reject. Now, delegation falls into a couple of camps. On a work basis or at work, we delegate to someone in our team, and often that requires us to upskill them to a point where they can do the job, which is terrific, but we delegate it for someone else to do. On the home front, there's 2 types of delegation. There's outsourcing. It's where you identify everything that you currently do that you're prepared to pay an expert to do because they will do it faster, better, and cheaper than you. So cleaning, right? Classic example. If you do not have a cleaner, go and get a cleaner. If you get a cleaner, do not clean before the cleaner comes. Okay, so that's outsourcing. The other type of delegation on the home front is insourcing. That's where you identify everything that you currently do for the people that you live with that they can do for themselves that you don't have to pay them for. Clean up your wardrobe, put away your dirty clothes, put your clean clothes in the cupboard, unpack the dishwasher, load the dishwasher, help me with dinner, take out the bins, feed the dog, mow the lawns. You can see that I've been insourcing for a long time. With insourcing and outsourcing, if you go to my website, timestylers.com, on the free resources page, there is a list of 50 jobs that you can insource to your kids. There's a list of 50 tasks that you can outsource at home. So you can download those for free. It'll give you a good place to start. Rejects are where you'll find a heap of lost time. There are 2 types of rejects. There's total rejects, which is the stupid stuff that no one needs to do ever. We now know that multitasking on our high value tasks is a total reject. You want to stop that one immediately. Then there's partial rejects, which are things or tasks or activities you do need to do, but you can just be smarter, a lot smarter about how and when you do them. Anything in peak hour. Don't go to the supermarket every day. Yes, you need to eat, but you can go once or twice, not every single day. File, don't pile. Don't buy clothes that need to be ironed. You know, so there's things, these are things that you do need to do, but you could just be smarter about how and when you do them. Yes, you do need to respond to your emails, but we can see from batching, we don't need to be on our emails all of the time. So once you've mapped your time and you have a really good sense of your habits, of your rituals, of the things that you do every single day, because that's just the way you've done them, run a critical eye over them and work out exactly what you can outsource, insource and delegate, and work out exactly what you can reject totally or that you can do different and more efficiently because it's a smarter way to do it. The next strategy is working out how to delegate the smart way. The number one reason that business owners and managers give for not delegating is, and this is on the home front as well, for all you parents out there who says it's just too hard to get the kids to do this, it's just easier if I do it myself. Slap yourself. The time has come to delegate the right way, the smart way. Now, often when we delegate, we do the SAT method, what I call the SAT method of delegation. We select the person, we tell them the activity, and we give them the time frame. I'm going to take a home-based example this time, okay? So it may be, little Johnny, I want you to vacuum the living room, and I want you to do it within the next half an hour. That's not enough information. If Johnny's never vacuumed before, this is the first time you've asked him to do it, he's got no idea, okay? Take a little bit longer, use the SMART method to explain the delegation that your role you're giving him. Little Johnny, I want you to vacuum the living room floor. This is really important, A, because the house looks like a pigsty, B, because you live here and family is a team sport, and from now on you're going to be participating, C, unless you do it within the next half an hour, then I'm cancelling your friends who are coming over in an hour because the living room looks awful, and unless it's clean, I'm cancelling it. So it's your job to clean it. That's the motivate step. A great result will look like, get the vacuum, and I'm going to show you how to do it. See all these little bits of dirt? Can you hear them being sucked up the vacuum? That means you're doing a good result. I also want you to vacuum the couch because it's got dog hair over it. Look, I've done this cushion. See how it looks great compared to this cushion. A great result will be if all of your cushions look like this cushion. I want it done in the next half hour. Took me a little bit longer, but I'm more likely to get the right result the first time. Now, when it comes to insourcing to your kids at home, you want to start them as early as possible. If your 2-year-old is capable of putting away their shoes, then the 32-year-old also capable of putting away their shoes, right? When they're really little, you're not expecting a perfect job. I'm not expecting my 5-year-old to vacuum like a pro, but what I am expecting is that he or she won't argue with me when I hand them the vacuum, and by the time they're 15, they will be vacuuming like a pro. Family's a team sport. What else can we reject? We can reject multitasking in favour of single tasking and batching. I want to challenge you to start rejecting some of the interruptions that come your way every day. Reject poor email management. Start batching and think about using the 4Ds as a really great way to manage your emails. Reject freestyling. You have to plan to succeed. Have a great to-do list with your calendar, lock in deadlines. Where possible, reject social media. Okay, we're spending too much time on that beast and it is a waste of time. You know, think about the opportunity cost. What else could you be doing with that time? Reject just, you know, killing time. Oftentimes a meeting might finish early, or you may be, when things go back to normal, in transit between meetings. There's time there to be had. Use it well. You might want to meditate. You might want to create your to-do list. You might want to ring up your network of people that you don't often talk to. So always have a plan B. Reject being addicted to your device. Do not use your phone as an alarm. Don't have it in the bedroom with you. Don't go to bed with it and look at social media, because the blue light is killing your brain. It's keeping you awake. You don't want to be reaching for your phone first thing in the morning. So put some boundaries around this stuff. Exhibit the right sort of behaviours to your kids. You know, our kids are spending up to about 9 hours on their devices every day. So we want to actually pull that back, and you have to demonstrate those behaviours yourself. Reject wasting your energy. If you're a morning person, do not waste the morning by responding to 20 emails and dealing with the admin and clearing the paperwork off your desk and feeling great. No, you've just lost your best time. Use your best time for your best, hardest revenue generating work. And absolutely, from now on, reject being busy. We've got the opportunity to do things really, really differently now. I've written a lot of articles on this recently in terms of business as usual version 2. So if anybody wants me to send them the articles, just send me an email. My details will be on the screen in a minute, and I'm happy to share those articles with you. I'm going to pause there, and I'm going to throw it open to any questions that the team at Wyndham have, or any of the lovely business operators who have dialed in to talk to us today. So Adam or Leslie, I'll throw it back to you to kind of moderate this bit. And in the meantime, just put details on the screen so people can connect with me on LinkedIn, or, please send me an email if you want any extra information or the articles I've talked about today.
Absolutely fantastic, Kate. Does anyone have a specific question they'd like to ask Kate? Because I do have one, Kate. I love the concept of insourcing. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned to insource with the children. Unfortunately, my children are adults and a couple of one's flown the coop, but can you train your husband? That's my question. Or is it too late?
I love that question. Let me say my most recent book, Leslie, is out. It's called Me First.
Yes.
And there's a chapter in there about the 13 mistakes that we make. And let me just look it up, because I'll be able to tell you exactly. Mistake number, where is it? Mistake number 8 is my kids aren't going to make this easy, which is all about trying to get your kids to insource. And then mistake number 9 is my partner is the problem.
Good, a whole chapter.
Yeah, it does have a whole chapter. Yes, you can insource to your partner. Yes, absolutely, you can teach young dogs and old dogs new tricks. It's about sitting down and explaining that family's a team sport and having a reasonable division of labour. Work out who's going to do what. But, the other thing that will quickly happen, Leslie, is that if you stop doing everything, someone's going to have to fill the void, aren't they?
Too true. I have thought of it often.
Today's the day.
Today's the day. Would anybody else like to ask a question? Please go ahead if you would. There's an opportunity to do so.
Hi, Kate.
Hi.
I'm good, thank you. It was very insightful, your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll probably consider myself as a very organized person to start with, but these last few months, I think, has just brought a lot online from all different angles. So what would have been maybe in person has come in like a flood.
Yeah.
And I did write a comment earlier. It's overwhelming, how many different platforms all of a sudden you're required to sign in, or all of a sudden you get Messenger messages and WhatsApp messages and Facebook messages. And I find it challenging to stay on top of everything.
Yeah.
Now we're just in the process. We're a very small business. We're just the two of us working alongside. So we don't have to manage a team, but we certainly have to manage our own precious time as well.
Yeah.
And we're just changing our CRM from MailChimp to Keep, which will keep me busy a little while. But it just got me overall thinking about processes. And you mentioned Asana and Trello. Mm-hmm. So we have got a leadership skills business. So we are delivering quite a lot of workshops, for example, which has now gone online. So there is a process involved from the first meeting with the customer online, defining what's going to be delivered, designing the workshop, putting it together, submitting it to the customer, etc., etc. And I have just been using a task. So at the moment, I'm using Microsoft Task.
Yeah.
But in there will be a series of tasks, and then I block out time in the calendar when I know that someone needs to design something.
Yeah.
Now, I want to make that a bit more automated. Would you suggest Trello or Asana for that one, or something like this?
Yeah, look, I personally use Trello, and I find so. In a similar style to you, I have processes developed for my business and for, particular, say, products, or if I'm, in your case, when you've from a client acquisition to delivering on the leadership training, I have those checklists. I store them in Trello as a checklist, and then have prompts in there that will hit my calendar automatically on days that I need to do particular things. Or the other thing that you can do with Trello is assign tasks to your other team member, or if your team grows, to your team members. Also, if you end up having any sort of assistant or virtual assistant, I have a virtual assistant who's overseas, and she has then tasks in Trello that I can assign to her. She assigns prompts to me. We can communicate in there as one sort of form of our communication. So it really does consolidate a lot of those places where you're otherwise checking, and it does prompt you to undertake the next step of the task. So I find it works very, very well for me.
Okay, Trello, because I've come across both and I just haven't actually looked into it, and I kind of kept working the way I used to work, but it's just kind of grown a little bit out of proportion that, you know, it almost feels like we're not across everything anymore. Yeah,
and it's that sense of losing control, which is that second part of the diagnosis, is we don't control the agenda. And once you start losing that sense of control, it's really quite debilitating when you're running your own business. What I would recommend that you do is, if you have a community of small business owners or others around you, or even through Wyndham or the portal there, if there's some sort of chat room, I would plug into that community and just ask, who is a Trello expert here, or who uses Asana and is an expert, and get that person to show you how they use it and how they set it up and all of its functionality, rather than you sort of trying to teach yourself. You know, when it comes to new technologies, find out who's good at it, who you know, and get them to show you.
Okay. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Very valid. Unless there's any other questions, I think we'll wrap it up, and particularly want to thank you, Kate. That was really just a most valuable, enlightening and inspiring session. There were so many takeaways for I'm sure, our businesses, for us from council, and us as individuals in terms of managing our life and making the most out of it. You know, things that resonated with me were the insourcing and device usage, the 4 Ds of emailing, productivity versus busy. I just was listening and hanging on the edge of my seat to everything you were saying. I'll certainly be watching the presentation again.
Oh, thank you. No, pleasure. And what I would say is, to anybody who does watch the presentation, anyone who is a business owner who wasn't able to attend today, but if you've listened to this as a recording, if you have any other questions, just reach out to me. The links are here, and I'm more than happy to engage with you and answer your questions.
That's such a very kind, generous offer, Kate, and we will be putting the presentation up on our website, and there's lots of thank yous coming through on the meeting chat, Kate, from everyone who's listened today. So again, thank you to our businesses who've joined in, and we hope you get a lot out of this. I'm sure you will. And thanks to the team, our IT department, who helped with productivity. But most of all, thank you to you, Kate. We're privileged to have had this presentation today.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye for now, everyone, until we see you again. Thank you.